So today is one of those days again where one of those big stock market YouTubers have just been caught looking like an absolute melon. That is Meet Kevin. Once again, a grifter which I don't actually normally talk about that much on the YouTube channel, but certainly is probably one of the worst stock market grifters out there, has once again been caught red-handed with one of his scams. One of his scams that has blown up in front of him. He's trying to make money from a few people, and then very quickly the scam has been revealed and has been shown to be a failure for the people he launched it for, and it has been shut down. And yesterday was one of those videos, well, he made one of those videos kind of showing once again that this guy, how do they get to the top of the YouTube search engine? I have no idea. So, Meet Kevin, one of the grifters that I don't really talk about that much on the YouTube channel, but today we are. And once again, I go to the point of view of going, how does a guy that has no knowledge on the stock market, or even, maybe not the knowledge side of it, but the track record. If you look at this guy's track record in the stock market, it is absolutely awful. And yet somehow he's able to amass a 2 million subscriber base. It's insane. And this is why people ask me, like, why do I make these videos? I had one the other day saying, why make these videos? And they say, well, because somebody has to call it out. Because what happens is this guy somehow still manages to get to the top of the YouTube search engine, even though when you actually look on a quality basis of how should this guy be recommended as one of the top people on the YouTube search engine when you're searching for stocks, stock market content, should he be coming at the top? And the answer is no, because if we were to judge a person on the stock market content on their actual knowledge and their delivery of returns, this guy would be at the bottom of the search engine, but he's still able to get to the top. And I don't know how YouTube still allows it. Well, I do kind of know how YouTube allows it, because YouTube and people, a lot of people are stupid. There's no way to put it. People do not mind losing money as long as the guy that's losing their money can make them laugh a couple of times in the video. That's what it goes down to. And as well as that, if they can look like they look the part as well, you know, by having the Ferraris at the start of the video and smiling away like, hey, I am a genius in the stock market, insert joke here. That is how they get to the top of the YouTube search engine. But it shouldn't be that. It should actually go on to the quality of the returns. And if that was to happen, this guy would be nowhere near the top of the search engine. He would be nowhere near a 2 million subscriber base. It just wouldn't happen. But yet, these grifters are able to pull more and more scams out. Now, the funny thing is, the scam that he did was actually trying to be a little bit honest this time. And trying to be honest for these YouTubers to actually prove a track record that a lot of these YouTubers can't do, because what they do is they have these multiple portfolios where they hide what they're buying, what they're selling, when they're selling out of positions, when they are selling these expensive courses and they have unlimited funds to put into these projects. It's very easy for them to manipulate their returns. But when it actually comes down to actually showing the returns, proof from a actual fund, then they get caught red-handed. And this is what's happened right now. So what happened is Meet Kevin tried to launch the first ever YouTuber ETF. He wanted to be the stock market YouTuber that actually launched an ETF and be like, hey, look, I'm a YouTuber, this is my ETF, I'm the best out here. And that was his plan to do it. Now, typically, this guy, as you would expect, launched this ETF at the bottom of the 2022 stock market crash. Like all these other grifter YouTubers do. All these big YouTubers all suddenly start a new portfolio at the bottom of the market. By the time the last portfolio's got wrecked, then they start a new one when the stocks are in the bottom. That's always what they do. And funny enough, this is exactly what he tried to do. He tried to start the ETF at the bottom of the 2022 stock market. Why do you think the reason of that was? Well, there you go. That's a nice and easy, obvious one. And he decided to launch this ETF, but he has now decided to close it down. He's now closing it down after losing $1 million on it. $1 million. That's absolutely insane. You know, this is the thing with these grifters. You know, they make so much. Their actual stock market returns for them guys are not their main priority. I've said this multiple times. Their priority is getting views selling courses from making people think they're actually good in the stock market. That's where their money comes from. Hype videos, that's where the money comes from these guys. And grifting courses, that's where they make the money. And because they make that much money from people that make bad decisions, because not enough people make these videos that I make today, because people actually believe them, they get scammed into this and they're able to make all this money and from all their grifts, and they can throw $1 million into projects that lose the money because of all the grifting they've been able to do. And being able to launch an ETF is, once again, adding on to the grift of, look, hey, look, I'm really good, I've got an ETF. But when we look at the actual performance of the ETF, you'll see, actually, probably shouldn't be looking at this guy. So losing $1 million to do this. Now, when we actually look at the Meet Kevin ETF, it's performed very poorly. If we look at the last year, the ETF is actually negative in the last year since it launched. A negative year. If we go on the S&P 500 in the last year, the S&P is up 20%. Imagine in the last 12 months, with the best market that we've had for a long time, underperforming the S&P 500. And not just underperforming the S&P 500. They've actually gone negative on this year. That takes some doing. For somebody that is charging people money to not only underperform the S&P 500, but to be negative last year is absolutely insane. Now, I'll listen to this video, and Kevin goes on to say, well, actually, when we started, we did all right. We were up on at the start of the year. Well, of course you are. You bought at the bottom of the stock market crash. It's all right saying, oh, for the first couple of months I was up on this. But at the longer term, this has massively underperformed the S&P 500 this fund. It has nearly half the gains of the S&P 500 in this time. Imagine charging people that much money to buy this ETF, and you've underperformed the S&P 5 by half. And in the last year, you've actually been negative last year. That is awful performance. Awful performance. And this is why, someone like this has to shut it down. Because when you've just come off a year and you've actually gone negative off what has been a fantastic year for the S&P 500, you can't grift. This is what happens. This is why I say all the time that all these big stock market YouTubers should do transparency. And this is why they don't do transparency, because they do try to do transparency and then they get caught of actually how poor of an investor they are. This is why none of the big YouTubers want to do anything transparent that actually tracks their performance, because they all would underperform it. Now, Meet Kevin has tried to be doing a bit of a transparent way of seeing how good an investor is, and we see him underperform the S&P 500 last year, and it's got to the point where he has to close it down. He has to close it down because you can't go on YouTube acting like a stock market genius if your fund is negative when the S&P is up 20%. You can't do it. You can't grift people onto your courses, because people are going to go, well, hold on, your fund's down negative this year while the S&P is up 20%. Why should I buy your course? Because you're not only underperforming the S&P 500, you're negative. I'm not going to go buy your course. And that's the grift over for them. This is why all the big YouTubers won't actually do anything that actually tracks the performance. That's exactly it. And all the money these guys make are from grifting. That's what they have to grift. They have to show off the Ferraris on the videos and say, oh, I'm an amazing stock picker, because that's where all their money comes from. They don't actually make any money from the stocks because they're crap at it. The way they do it is from the courses. And even on this video where he talks about closing down his ETF, he actually spent most of the time saying that I want to spend more time making YouTube videos because he makes more money, and makes more from selling courses because he makes more money. That's where the grift from. And even in this video here, I think I had it written down at some point, 11 minutes 24, he actually says in this video, he already starts grifting a new course that he already plans on making. Let's see if I can do it here.
Rather than try to spin all of these different plates and kind of like lose my mind. And a little bit, that's sort of what's happened. And so this aligns with not only why I was absent over the last, frankly, 4 days here, but it aligns with a course announcement that I made. Although I wasn't expecting to get, or to have to make this video today. I'll explain that in just a moment as well. Thanks. Anyway, more on that in just a moment. But I actually just made this big announcement, and I thought you would see it too, because it really aligns with this announcement. And so this is like, if you're looking for an entrepreneurial lesson in this is a good one to pick.
So even on this video that he's doing here, he's already starting to do his new courses to make more money from people. It's absolutely insane. Imagine having to close, you've had to close a fund down, announce you've lost $1 million on it, you've massively underperformed the S&P 500, and then you're always trying to grift your viewers with a new course that you're selling. It's absolutely insanity, guys. You've got to be careful of these guys. I generally don't know how this is going to get sorted. You know, I don't know at what point the SEC comes in and says, like, you know, financial YouTubers have to post their annual returns at the start of the video, or some sort of data pool that makes these financial YouTubers enter their investments and calculates a return, so you can go on the SEC website or whatever regulation body you have and actually shows the return of these people that are recommending content. It's absolutely crazy to me that these guys, for even after all these years, are still able to get away with being such poor investors, top class grifters, and are still allowed to come at the top of the YouTube search engine. And this is why we have to make these videos, because these guys, this guy here, he's not bothered he's just lost $1 million. He's not bothered he's just lost the people a ton of money. He's not bothered he's grift people into his courses. He will continue to do it year after year after year. And year after year, he will still be allowed at the top of the YouTube search engine, as well as every other of those big stock market YouTuber grifters that are just poor investors. You know, this is the perfect example of what is the issue. And it's not only just Meet Kevin as well. There's plenty of other YouTubers, and I've called them out before, that this is why they can't be transparent on their returns, because as soon as they try to be transparent on their returns, this is what happens. They will underperform the S&P 500 because they can't hide it anymore. They can't hide their returns anymore. They can't hide their buys and sells. They can't hide it through multiple brokers. They can't hide by only just holding, by showing you guys the good stuff, the stuff that they're up on. It frustrates me. It frustrates me big time, because I don't know how they're allowed to still get away with this and still come top of the YouTube search engine. And the only thing I can do is call it out. That's the only thing I can do, and make people more aware of it. Now, the good thing with someone like a Meet Kevin is it seems like people are starting to be aware of it. Ignore my comment there of, is this scam 1045 for you? But if you look at some of the comment section now, you can see here that people are picking up on it. Meet Kevin has lost me thousands based on his advice since the pandemic, but people ignore track records. Exactly like that. I remember when Meet Kevin first made this silly ETF, and I told people just to buy the S&P 500. Typical YouTuber, his success depends on your money. At least there is people aware of it now and starting to pick up on it a little bit, which is good. The awareness is out there, and hopefully people do kind of realise that, rather than a comment section of people going that are new investors and just picked up on this guy in the last 3 months because he was top of the search engine, going, oh, the last 3 months have been amazing, while the S&P is up this much in the last 3 months. Of course it's amazing. Wait until we hit a bit more of a tougher time. Wait until we get into the long-term results. So there's the awareness to get in there, which is a good thing, but there's still such a long way to go. Still a long way to go, but we're getting there, I think. Little step. You know, if the regulation if YouTube is not going to step in and help people with this, if the regulation bodies aren't going to step in here and help people with this sort of situation, all we can do is make people more aware. And it does seem like that's starting to happen a little bit, but there's still a long way to go. And not just with, this guy is a grifter, but so many other big YouTubers as a grifters. So hey, let's try keep going to make people aware, I think, hopefully, and we'll carry on making little baby steps here. But thanks for watching, guys. See you in a bit.